Hello and welcome to our podcast, Separated by Water, but more about that shortly, as we have an exciting schedule to get through. My name is Colin Campbell. I'm a Spurs season ticket holder and I go to most of the home games. I reside in Drummahole, which is a village near Derry, Londonderry, in Northern Ireland, if you wish. And this is Paul Galt. Paul, how are you?
I'm good, Colin. Thanks. Glad the soccer's back. Just to give a bit of background on myself, live between Coleraine, County Derry, Londonderry, and West Cork. Nottingham Forest supporter for my sins. Really glad the Premiership's back. Actually, it's been a long break, and this weekend it was just great. But the inevitable happened. 86th minute, we threw away 2 of our 3 points that we should have had. In the 86th minute, when we didn't even have time to come back and get it. But it's like supporting Forest and probably like supporting Spurs all over the years, you know. Yourself?
Well, yeah, a little bit too painful still to talk about for me. It's just, I think if Spurs were, as I've said before, a science fiction movie or a philosophy, it would be like the harder we work, the further we go, we always end up in the same place. And I just have that feeling about this season. However, a little bit about the podcast. There are thousands of us, probably more, who live in Ireland, north or south, who passionately support a team in England. And if that's you, then this podcast is for you. You might see your team regularly, occasionally, or maybe not at all. Depend on TV or radio for your fix. Don't care about that so much. It's your opinions we want. Your opinions matter to us, and we want to hear from you. We're going to have a slant on the Irish and South dimension. We're going to deal with on-field issues, of course, and some off-field. For example, for those of you who travel, what are the costs like? Is it easy? Does the club want you there? You know, all of those things that maybe make the journey more difficult or more easy, as the case might be. Okay, Paul, you mentioned there about Forest. Why Forest?
Why Forest? 1973, a lifetime ago, family friend, Liam O'Kane, who actually played for Forest. I say family friend, he was friend with my father for a period. I'm not sure whether it was business or pleasure. But my brothers supported Leeds and Chelsea, respectively. And I was undecided. I suppose I was 9 or 10 at the time. And I was chatting. I was asked the question, who do you support? I said, I don't support anybody at the minute, still trying to make up my mind. And Liam O'Kane said, why don't you support? It's easy to support a big team. Why don't you support maybe a smaller team like Nottingham Forest? And there it was. That was it. Nottingham Forest in 1973. And then 6 years later, 79, 80, we win the European Cup. And I think I made the best decision of my life. And then shortly after that, we go into exile again and 23 years out of the Premiership. But we're back now, thinking positive. We've got a good owner. I really like the owner, Colin. I think he's doing great things around the community in Nottingham. He's happy to spend money in the club. He's bringing in more seating, safe standing area, and he seems to be driving the club on in the right direction. So I'm hopeful that we can stay in the Premiership and move up to mid-table. But I don't know. But the predictions, we said we'd do some predictions. We'll do them later on. What about the Spurs? How did you get into Spurs?
Well, good question. It was probably my grandfather who, in the mid-60s, still talked about Danny Blanchflower, the local hero from Belfast, obviously where I'm originally from.
Of course.
At that time, there was Pat Jennings too, who was a big star, big Northern Ireland star, of course. And then Jimmy Greaves. And I happened to see him on Match of the Day, one of the first matches of the day program I'd seen. And he played on white. It was easily distinguishable. If you had a team playing in red and a team playing in blue, like Everton versus Man United, it's hard to know who was who, but with Spurs, you always knew. That year, I'd watched the World Cup in '66. That year, the following season, they won the FA Cup. They beat Chelsea, and I thought I was onto a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah, like me.
It's been mostly pain, but great excitement. We've had some great years, some very, very poor years. You're very pleased by your ownership. I probably am less so. I don't want to be, I could be accused of being a moaner on some of the Facebook sites I'm in. It's not that, it's just that realization, as I mentioned earlier. I'm just not sure our ownership is truly committed to going the extra mile on the pitch. Off the pitch, yeah, we've got a great stadium. Yes, we do. We've got a go-kart stadium under it. Yes, we do. We have American football occasionally. Yes, we do. And we have big concerts. Great. And not one of them will win us a match,
No,
nor a trophy. And
no.
that's what I support. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, not Tottenham Hotspur entertainment industry. So that's my. I've been going since the 70s. I used to go on a boat to away matches. It was very expensive to fly in those days. Now, as a season ticket holder, I fly over regularly to watch the games, spend a night in London, and come back. I try not to think about the cost, tell you the truth, but it's worth it. I have a good friend to travel with. We know a lot of the Spurs guys over there. They're very good with us. Overall, the experience remains wonderful. With a great start last season. I was at the Chelsea match where it all fell apart, and we lost, I think, the following three. But for this season, well, let's look at the predictions. Okay, Paul, take us through those.
Okay, so I put the predictions up, and maybe you can talk them through. What I've done is I put yours up first.
Okay.
If you could talk us through, it's for people to see there, and then I'll do mine. And then what I've done is I've actually put it into AI Copilot on Bing search engine, and they gave us predictions, which are quite interesting. But anyway, talk us through your predictions, Colin.
Right. Well, starting with the big one, I suppose. Where will Spurs finish? I'm saying 7th, which I'm not sure if that's was a Euro conference position or not. I'm not even sure. I'm going along with my philosophical statement of earlier. We think we finished 5th last season. 7th is more or less the same. I think it's a no man's land for a team like Spurs, where they're not making the top 4, but they're not in any other kind of trouble. And the footer about between the UEFA League and the Conference League or whatever it is. I have a feeling that, well, you'll see my other predictions that some of those other teams are maybe just that wee bit ahead of us. With Forest, I'm thinking 15th, which is probably what you're looking for. They're thereabouts. I think there will be worse teams than Forest in the league this year. But Forest need to get rid of the habit of giving away points at the end. And that will be I think it was not their downfall. They stayed up, but it was a difficulty for them last year, and it will be again this year. And that's already happened with one of my predictions, Bournemouth. I think they played on Saturday. But if both those positions, if the two teams end up in those, you'll probably be happier than I am. You always are happier than I am anyway. But I will be, while I'm predicting it, I'll not be running around saying, I told you so. I'll be disappointed. My top 6 for the season probably speak for themselves. City, Arsenal, Liverpool, I see that being as it is. I don't think Arsenal have enough yet, or maybe ever, to beat this current City team, whatever happens in the future. Liverpool, I think, will do okay. The surprise package there might be, or two of them might be Man United 4th. I just have a horrible feeling they're going to do all right. Villa will be thereabouts. And Chelsea, I think they'll just click, as they tend to do, towards the end and sneak into the top 6, which, of course, is no good to them. Not that long ago, they were perennial Premiership and Cup winners. So that will not be enough for them. Going down, I've tried not to do the simple one and pick the 3 promoted teams. I actually have a feeling that Southampton, will be okay as well. I think Ipswich will be weak. I think they'll be found out. I think they'll be very exciting to watch, and Kieran McKenna will get a lot of credit. But I just think they may go down. Everton, I think they've been circling the dream for a few years now. They were terrible at home on Saturday. I think it just might be the year. I don't think they've progressed in any way. I have a lot of time for Sean Dyche, but even he sounds a wee bit without hope, you know. And Bournemouth, I wonder, there's always a team that sure does quite well, maybe like Leeds had done the last couple of years, and then falls. And the loss of Solanke, if it turns out to be a loss, might just be a wee bit too much for them. So I've gone for them. So those are my predictions for the year, Paul.
Okay. I have to confess that I changed this. We had originally said we'd do this pre-season. After the weekend, it sort of influenced my decision. I will say that all these predictions are not allowing for any points deductions. I read a nice article this morning, actually, and they were discussing City, Chelsea, Everton and Leicester. Chelsea particularly, and we'll talk about that later at the end, but the points deductions, possibly a transfer ban, is facing any or all of them. But as you always say, you don't think the Premiership maybe has the bravery to follow through on it. Anyway, where do I think Forest will finish? 14th. I predict that we're going to get 40 plus points, but that's not based on where we were on Saturday. Like, we have to stop these set piece point loss, and it's generally in the last 10 minutes of the game, and it's so frustrating for a supporter. But we've got a set piece coach. I don't know what he's doing. I really don't, because it's not been fixed. It's not getting sorted out, and it's just an inevitability about it every week that we're going to have that goal slipped in, and not even in time to do anything about it. At the 86th minute, the game's over in 10 more minutes, and you're fighting to win. Anyway, Spurs. I think Spurs are going to do a whole lot better than you do. The eternal optimist, I suppose. You're maybe the eternal pessimist when it comes to Spurs, but I think they've got a great team. I think they've got a great Postecoglou. I love him. I think he's a great manager, and I think he's rallied them up well, and I think he'll continue. If you just have to look at his history, what he's done elsewhere, he's done well everywhere he's been, and he's come in there, and I think he's rallied you round. You've got you playing as a team, and no disjointed. It seems to be very working as a machine, and I think you're going to do well. I think you'll get a position in Europe. If not fourth, it's definitely the top six. But anyway, we will come back to predictions this time next year. We'll pull it up again, and we'll see where we go. Top six for the season: Man City, again a machine. Again, if they get their points deduction, then I think Liverpool are going to. I think Arne Slot has come in there. He's keeping the status quo going with the team. And Arsenal, I think they'll bottle it as they always do. I can hear people saying to me already, why are you slagging off Arsenal? But they just seem to be this, they seem to bottle it every year. They just seem to just slip and they go, and that's it. Spurs fourth. Villa, I think, are playing as a lovely football, playing great, playing as a great team. You know, they're just a pleasure to watch. And Man United, they're the ones that of them top six, they're possibly the ones that not certain they'll make the top six. It really depends on how they start off their season. Relegated, Everton's the one I changed. I said that at the beginning. Everton, I changed at the beginning. I just watched them, and again, I really do like Sean Dyche, but I don't think they've got enough. I think there's too much going on at the club. There's it's just all wrong, and I don't think they're going to do well. Ipswich, I just don't think they've got enough. And unlike you, I think Leicester have got the history, they've got the experience to stay up, and I think Southampton will slip back down again. And I do like Southampton as a team, but that's my prediction for the coming season. Here is what AI predicted, and you'll be happy to see that AI, and I didn't take that from fourth. I'd done my predictions before I put it in. Forest, they have us down on the cusp of relegation. They have you finishing fourth. Man City to win. Arsenal second. Liverpool third. Spurs fourth. Man United fifth, and Aston Villa sixth. And they have the three that come up to go back down again. What do you think about that, Colin? Excuse me.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll probably use it at the minute to kind of validate our own choices. I'm very happy with the Spurs prediction. Probably you're less so about the Forest one. Yeah, City seem odds on. Arsenal and Liverpool juggling second and third. Spurs fourth. Yeah, well, it's possible. Spurs can do these things. Do they do it often enough? And like the other night, I don't know what they were excellent for 45 minutes and then not so good for 45. And Leicester, when they saw that they had a chance, really nearly took it. The relegated teams, I suppose that's to be honest, that's probably an obvious one. The three that came up go down. Although I'm just not so sure. Leicester, I think, have enough. I think they've got the experience. I am not sure why they went down the last time. I think things going in the background, provided they're not penalised in a big way. I think they'll stay up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Could I just ask people if you're liking the podcast? We're aiming to have one podcast every week. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments. We'll talk about your comments. Like and share. Tell friends about us. And subscribe, like, and share. What I want to do now, Colin, is if I could just, based on what I was saying about the relegation of teams or teams winning the league, City, if they win, I pulled up a thing, operating profit and loss in millions. Chelsea minus 249 million. Leicester, I think Leicester are going to get hit. I think Chelsea's going to get hit by points deduction. And I'll still talk about Chelsea at the end. I want to do that as a wee feature at the end. Aston Villa have a minus 139 points. But I think all of them are big clubs that they can generally bring it all back. But if you then go to the next slide, the only team that's in the black is Brentford, which is I was stunned by that. Spurs again. You've got to get the revenue from, you've got the revenue from the stadium. But is that being pumped into the club? What do you think, Colin? Is that actually going back into your club?
I don't know. It goes back into the club, but in what way and to whom? There are obviously shareholders to be paid who want dividends. Does it go into the transfer market? It appears not. People say, well, yeah, you spent 40 million on Archie Gray and 65 on Solanke, whether they're good buys or not, and it's money. But some of that will come back. And to be honest, I'm not sure. People who've been around as long as I have probably can't put their finger on it, but we just feel that something is not as it should be. Something is not good enough. A massive team with a wonderful history and a wonderful ground in London should be doing better.
Yeah,
that's all I can say.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's a bit like Levy. You can't, you listen to any of these Talk Sports shows, Talk Sport, Radio 5 Live, whatever. You listen to them, and Spurs and Chelsea seem to be the two that they always come back to talk about the money they earn, how it's been spent. Levy and Todd Bowley. Levy seems to get an awful doing, and your supporters seem to be divided down the middle with a Levy out and keeping you in. I don't know. I think there's a line somewhere between having a big stadium that you can fill. I can't get a season ticket to go and see Forest. I can barely get a ticket. Forest's games are actually one of the most expensive tickets to buy because they're in such short supply. You can't get a ticket to go and see it. So yeah, would I like a big stadium? I would, but I wanted to stay on the City ground location, off the edge of the Trent. It's a beautiful location to go and watch a football match. There's one for you. What's the new stadium you have? Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, is that what it's called? Yeah. And White Hart Lane. You've been to both. Which is the better experience? And I know they're probably two very different experiences, but which is the one? Which would you prefer, or is there no preference?
Well, your first point about the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's amazing to me that it hasn't been, the naming rights haven't been sold off yet. That's a few seasons now, and usually, they're keen to make money. I don't know what's going on there and what's going wrong. Yeah, it is a difficult question. I have many memories of White Hart Lane and Park Lane or Paxton Road or the Shelf. and they were wonderful times with beer swilling everywhere and covering it and falling up and down the terraces, and seeing not a lot of the game many times as players
Yeah.
disappeared in the corner or up the pitch. But the atmosphere is wonderful. The atmosphere at the new stadium is, of course, more restrained. It couldn't not be. But in praise of the new ground, every seat has a perfect view, to my knowledge. The Park Lane end, whatever it's called now, is a single tier of 17,000 people who are the singers, the chanters, and the shouters, and it really creates a wonderful atmosphere. They've worked with the acoustics and kept the crowd very close to the pitch. So if they're playing American football or whatever else they're doing, actually an underground area opens up and moves the seating away, blah blah blah. You know, but for me, it's as good as it can possibly be in terms of a modern day stadium. Well, so what am I going to choose? Well, I was only season ticket waiting list since 1982. I used to get a letter, and there were letters in those days, not emails, telling me my interest was noted and valued and all that. And there's about 2,000 season tickets available, and I'm number 42,083 in the list.
Yeah.
So until a few years ago, when it came up and it worked. It's like asking me to choose between children, my children, that way. I suppose we needed a new stadium. I'll go that far. It needed to happen. And probably what I'm best with is many memories of being at the Lane, packed crowds, watching them beat Arsenal, beat Ipswich, beat everyone really. Seeing them United, and so on lose, seeing them lose as well. And those are great memories. But for now, we need the new ground, so it does get my vote of approval. Okay.
Yeah.
Equal great memories versus current need. Okay.
Yeah. I guess it's the same with me. Like a City Ground, anytime I've been there, when we're singing Mull Kintyre at the beginning, the atmosphere is electric. It's an old school stadium, as I guess White Hart Lane was. We've got the crowd there. Every seat's full. It's playing well. But then there's so many people are kept outside because we can't get in because of the numbers. My hope is that there is plans that if they can get the freehold sorted out, they're going to turn the pitch round and make some massive, great stadium. But that's down the line. I don't even know if I'll be alive to see it at that stage. It could be 10, 15, 20 years. I don't know how long it'll take. But yeah, it's a nice problem to have. The stadium you have is magnificent to watch on TV. It just looks magnificent. The light shows and everything like that there, But again, as you say, it doesn't win matches. It doesn't get you 3 points at the end of the day.
No, and one other thing you mentioned, the ground is built where White Hart Lane was, and they probably did turn it around, the way you're describing. And what's good about that is a sense of it being at home. And the other one is in most of the old pubs, bars, and restaurants and takeaway shops are still there. So there's a sense of the traditional still embracing the new. We've still got the bricklayers, and the coach and horses, and Bentley. Some of them have changed names, but they're all great pubs from all over the years, And that's nice. We're not heading off out to somewhere that has no connection whatsoever with the history of the club. So definitely enjoy that. There's a very good video actually about the ground, and Levy does speak well. So anyway, after the riots in Tottenham of a lot of years ago, they knew they couldn't leave the area. That the club was one of the few things going for it in the area.
Yes.
I would really agree with that. So the decision to stay was one, based on a number of things, probably financial, but fair play to them doing that. I think there are plans now for a walk through to the train station, hotel rooms, and God knows. But like you, Paul, I probably won't be around to see any of that.
Yeah. The development will come, but it's it seems to be the way now. The multi-millionaires running football, but then the PSR and the financial fair play seems to be having do you think that the PSR and FFP, do you think it's something that can allow the smaller clubs to climb up? Do you think it creates an element of fairness, or should they just have left? Should they have left it alone? Because I waited for years. Sorry, I'll give you my point of view. I waited for years to have an owner that was able to spend money. We've now got Mr. Marinakis, who was prepared to spend money, and now he's not allowed to. It's like it's whatever Forest just get their nose in line with the others, we're slapped back again. But I do get the PSR. I get the financial fair play that you have to only spend what you earn. You can't be spending massive amounts of money. But the other teams are doing it, and it sticks in my crock all the time. Forest got a points deduction last year. Everton got a points deduction last year. It'll be interesting to see what happens between Chelsea, City, Everton, or Leicester. Is Everton going to get another one? I know that Chelsea has admitted the offences, so it's not a case of them being found out or being investigated. They've admitted that there was things were going wrong. But yeah, where do you stand on the financial fair play rules, or PSR as it's known now?
Yeah, it's almost a considered. I'm not sure, and I think we may in the future have a guest on who can maybe give us a few insights to it. I think it might be some questions who brought it in and why. There was a school of thought say that what they didn't want teams running away with it by having far too much money for the other team. They just bully them. I can understand that, but then to a certain extent that had been going on, for years. And it's interesting that the powers that be, in terms of England, Spain, Italy, whatever, were the ones who were upset about this. It was almost as if they had a closed shop and didn't want new teams coming into it.
Yeah.
It's difficult to know. It's maybe the law of unintended consequences. It seems ironic to me the teams who are falling foul of this and being punished are not the teams you would imagine would have been abusing it. I understand your point about Forest not being able to spend now. Everyone wants a rich owner, but that's only half the battle. You may have a rich owner who wants to spend money on players is really what we're talking about, and things that the fans can actually see. I think it needs to be adjusted and maybe come back to say, what are we actually trying to achieve here? Are we trying to protect football, or are we trying to protect a certain amount of clubs who have had for a long time an elevated position? And that's what worries me. I think that Martin Samuel had written over the weekend about the fact that financial fair play was working to the detriment of the Premier League as a whole because the top players weren't coming to it. And he's thinking about Mbappe, amongst others, who are going back to, good old Real Madrid, who hoover up every top player.
Yes.
I think we need to look at it. I think that genuine competition, the Americans value that with their draft system and their professional sport. We take it for granted, as the fans are taken for granted. But I think the biggest killer, the thing that will empty grounds across England, which is what we're talking about, will be A, lack of genuine competition, and B, killing the dreams. The Wrexhams, the Macclesfields, all these teams have a dream. Their fans have a dream. Kill that, and why do they bother? I think that's been what's been wonderful about English football for so long. The thousands turn up for third-tier game, fourth-tier game, second-tier game, certainly, in the hope and with a dream. And those have been realised in my lifetime. I've seen Barnsley, I've seen Swindon, I've seen Reading. None of them really. I don't mention Charlton; they were up, but they were probably established for be up, have their dream, and go back down again. So maybe probably overspent and broke their structure. So that's a danger too. Yeah, let's look at it. Let's adapt it, and let's see what it takes us here. Is what people like at the moment.
I would like to. I'm not sure it works. I'm not sure it's working. I'm
Yeah,
not sure what the answer is either. I don't know what the answer is. I guess you can't have states owning, but you have to look at Newcastle. Newcastle have sort of toed the line, even though we all know that they're state owned, but they'll dress it up whatever way they want to. But they're toeing the line with the transfers. We bought Elliot Anderson. They had to sell Elliot Anderson or a player like him
yeah,
for a certain
yeah.
amount of money to get in within the rules of PSR. So I don't know. But then we'll just have the Premiership. I don't think they're strong enough to deal with these things. I don't know if they ever will. But as I say, I know I'm repeating myself. For Forest and Everton supporters to sit and watch, like Leicester are going to get hit with, I think, because I think that historically goes back 2 seasons whenever they were relegated, and then the Premiership couldn't act on it because they were in the Championship, so they're immediately coming up into problems. But I just hope it doesn't determine the bottom end of the table. We were lucky, and Everton were lucky that the points deduction didn't get us relegated, and
Yeah,
thankful
I
of
mean,
that.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think there's another factor here that may increase in significance in years to come, may already there, is the fact that the Premier League, doesn't really worry about the rest of the leagues in England. Who knows? Appears
Yeah,
not. But their product is available throughout the world, and it's for sale throughout the world. And any country in the world, you go near any country in the world, you will see a bar, a pubs, and Premiership football.
yeah,
That's how big it is, and that's where
yeah,
they are. And they need the big names. So, whether fans of these teams, please forgive me, but whether Leicester, Everton, or Forest are the lifeblood of that, or is it your Man Uniteds, your Chelseas, your Liverpools? Man United and Liverpool probably the 2 biggest. The London clubs after that, perhaps. They're the ones who probably sell it, abroad, and that's where the money is. That's why these teams are going to complain about too many matches, and then they're in Australia, America, Korea, wherever, and they're exhausting the very assets they're hoping to protect.
yeah,
So, there are, as I said, there are a number of factors at play, and we maybe need to go back and say who's brought this in and what were its intentions,
yeah,
or was it simply to protect the top teams as were at the time?
yeah,
We'll find out. I think over the year, there will be some very telling decisions made.
yeah. And that's
Okay.
not talking about VAR.
No, that's for another day.
That's another conversation for another day. Yeah,
What the small feature I think what we'll have over the time, looking at the Irish connection, is what I call Emerald Watch. And every so
right.
often we'll pick someone who is from here, who's operating, performing in the league or the Premiership, and to see how they're doing. Now, it's very early days. My choice this week is probably an obvious one, Kieran McKenna, a Limavady person, I believe,
Yeah,
close to where I am. He did play for Spurs as a young kid. I think he had a bad injury. This is all potted history, so forgive me, Kieran. I remember him in the magazines and the write-ups and so on. Great things predicted for him. He had a bad injury. He went very early into the coaching route. He ended up at Man United, so he's not entirely a good person. And then now he's with Ipswich. It has been all good for him so far, coming up
yeah,
2 divisions. He nearly set the word on the ground because he was going to sign for Man United. So, I mean, luckily, I think for him and for Ipswich, he stayed. I don't think the match with Liverpool tells us anything more than we already knew. They were probably expected to lose, and they did. I think the performance was very good. As long as that kind of enthusiasm can be maintained through January, February, March, I've predicted they will go down, and I think they'll be bottom of the table, I have to say. But it may be that they go down in a way that they come back up again. And
yeah,
that's probably as much as I'm hoping for them. So keep an eye on Kieran through the weeks and other players from this island, and trainers, players, managers, whoever, and
yeah,
see how they're doing. Okay, one last thought on that for me is basically many years ago, in my lifetime anyway, players from the island never dominated, but were featured highly in the top leagues, particularly in England. I mentioned a couple of mine. Every team had Irish players. You Leo Kane, for example. Spurs had them right through. Jerry Anderson, scorer of a World Cup goal. People from the south, who were, obviously Roy Keane, Brady, Stapleton, going back, Charlie Hurry, so on and so forth. Kind of where are they now?
Yeah.
What's happened?
Martin O'Neill, the Martin O'Neills of the
Martin O'Neill's a great example. Yeah, there are many examples, but fewer and fewer, I think. Wonder why that's happening. I don't think it's the increase or the in salaries in the Irish League and the League of Ireland. I'm not sure they're going further abroad. Some might. But I wonder what's happening. And do we care? Do supporters teams care whether it's a Paddy or a William scoring the goal or a Chorus or a Sergei? It's just food for thought. I'd like, if people who are listening in have an opinion about that, I would certainly like to hear it.
Yeah.
So that's me for this week. Paul, you wanted to club, you're going to do a feature, quite really what we call note of concern.
Yeah, well,
I've received one from your employer. So you're going to issue notes of concern every week. And this one is to, who's this to, Paul?
Notes of concern, Nottingham Forest. No, I'm only joking. No, I'm just going to, you mentioned there about commenting on Irish players and stuff. So if you do want to do, this will be obviously on YouTube. You can subscribe to your channel, like and share, and leave your comments there, and we will address your comments. I have 2 points of concern. I said I wasn't going to mention one, but there was an incident with Brereton Diaz and Fabian Scher on, I think was it the Saturday night match or headbutt? It wasn't a headbutt. It wasn't a headbutt. And I think that the overreaction of these players for an incident like that, you watch a game of rugby and you watch these guys getting up from a tackle and you see these guys rolling about in the pitch, and it is pathetic. But not only that, they're actually faking head injuries now as well. And the seriousness of a proper head injury, it should be stopped. The game should be stopped if it's genuine. And I believe that, and it will never happen, but retrospectively, if somebody is found to be cheating by overacting or pretending that they've been injured in a way that they haven't been, retrospective points or cards issued or bans or whichever. That I don't know what your view. Did you see the incident, Paul?
Yeah, I did see it. And I think that the comments of the Southampton manager, Russell Martin, a guy I have a lot of time for, were probably highlighting where we are at the minute. And he said, look, in those circumstances, had it been the other way around, the Newcastle player would have feigned injury too. And that's just the way it is. And the player gets sent off. Now, if that's where we are, that's unfortunate. I would like to see that outside football. I would like to see it away altogether. But who starts? It's very difficult. The referees have a difficult enough job already without assessing who hit whom. They try to say that if you move your head in a direction, touch the other player with your head, that is deemed as the offence, regardless of how hard or forceful it was, or of the effect on the other player. But it is sickening to see somebody going down as if they had been shot. I agree with you. It's up to the players. Man up. Stop this nonsense. Respect your fellow professionals and play the game. Because we as fans, that's what we want to see.
Yeah. Sadly, that's not going to happen. But anyway, that was on a buy. The last thing I want to talk about, what's going on at Chelsea under Todd Bowley. I just don't know. I've a lot of friends who are Chelsea supporters, and I know that they're absolutely distraught. They just don't know what's going on. Spending countless amounts of money. Transfer, like Conor Gallagher's transfer, he was back and forward. I know he's signed today for Atletico. It's done. They're handling of Raheem Sterling. I just wonder who is running the club. Is it Todd Bowley or this manager Maresca? Is it Maresca? I didn't know anything about him before he came to manage the team. He's not manager; he's head coach. I just wonder what is going on there. Is this just money, megalomania, come in, buy a club and just buy and sell players? Does the manager or head coach have any say in who they're buying, who they're playing? I watched them on Saturday or whatever day it was in the weekend that they were playing, and they were shocking. They were absolutely disjointed, shocking. They didn't look. I wish we could play them straight away, because get them in this state, because as you say, there's an inevitability that they will get themselves sorted out, and they'll, like they did last year, and they'll crawl up the league towards the end of the league, at the end of the season. But they're treating it Raheem Sterling. Again, I would take Sterling at Nottingham Forest tomorrow. But is it Chelsea, or does Raheem Sterling, did he not go out of City in a similar manner? There was some controversy that he was being bullied or something there as well. So I don't know. Does he upset the changing room? Does he the squad? Does he cause division in the squad? I don't know. But I don't know. I look at it and I think, of all the money they've spent, why is it the way it is? I don't know if you've got a view on it. I just wanted to highlight it and say to all my fellow, not fellow Chelsea fans, but all my friends that are Chelsea fans, I despair for you, because the money that's been spent, you should be sitting top of the league.
Well, if it was on money spent, yeah, that's right. And that's interesting, going back to what we said earlier. The money is no guarantee. Raheem Sterling, I don't know about him. I don't know him. I've never met him. But he didn't leave Liverpool or Man City with the best wishes of their fans. No. So I don't know what's going on there. Chelsea, my brother is a season ticket holder for Chelsea. And it's very rarely I'm able to say we're above you on the table. I can do that. But already I've said that they may finish higher on us at the end of the year. Okay, Paul, I think that's for today.
I really enjoyed that. Great to have a chat with you.
Yeah. Just close up by reminding our friends how they might subscribe.
Yep. Here we go, guys. Once again, sorry if it sounds as if we're going on about it too much, but if you just subscribe to the channel, like and share, and tell your friends, you know where they can find us, and we'll be doing a podcast, all being well, one a week, talking just about anything that's going on, promoting our own wee clubs, or my wee club and your big club, even though we won 2 European Cups and you haven't. That old drum being beat again, but anyway. Yeah, it's been great. Please like, subscribe and share and tell people about us, and hopefully we'll build up a nice wee group of people that we can talk, and we'll leave your comments and we'll talk about them every week. All right, Colin, thanks for that.
Yep, separated by water, and until the next time, all the very best.
Thank you. See you guys. You Reds.